JJ Redick has always relished the fact he can get a reaction from basketball fans. The old wrestling trope goes you can either be loved or hated, but don't be neither. It's a cliche that covers all forms of entertainment though, including sports. However, as he has transitioned from his playing career to broadcasting, something in recent times has felt a bit off. It certainly has nothing to do with visibility. He's seemingly popping up any and everywhere that will have him. Recently though, the negative reactions Reddit garners have gone from the "I hate you, you're the worst" variety to "go away, dude." The ESPN commentator becoming head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers will only make the situation worse. Much worse. It would be like this man winning the WWF Championship in the early 2000s. I'm Cheyenne Hollis, this is The Touchback, and JJ Redick has himself some serious X-Pac heat.
I don't want to wrestle X-Pac. I don't want anything to do with X-Pac.
Personally, I don't think JJ Redick is all that bad, and early on in his burgeoning media career, there was a lot of positivity surrounding his long-term prospects in the biz. Unfortunately, the more work he has done in media, the more the bloom has come off the rose. For example, his constant desire to champion privilege is confounding. Look, I am a pompous, arrogant, contrarian asshole, and even I'm like, hey JJ Redick, you might want to tone it down a bit. That being said, there is a difference between being unrelatable and overexposure. If Reddick was simply out there defending modern players and opining that fans could never understand basketball because they aren't him or whatever that argument was supposed to be, I don't think it would be much of an issue. Annoying, sure, but hardly the most annoying thing out there. It is the sheer volume of appearances Reddick now seems to make on a daily or even hourly basis that is the issue. Holy hell, is this guy being shoved down our throats? You know, with those Reggie Miller Wendy's March Madness commercials now being shelved for the year, I think the only basketball personality with more exposure than Reddick is Shaq, who hasn't found a commercial he doesn't like. This is where most, not all, but most the current anti-JJ Redick sentiment stems from. It's less about what he says and more a sense of, this guy again? Is there seriously no one else available? Now, if Reddick was a little more engaging and personable and relatable, maybe it doesn't get to this point, but Reddick is rolling out the same old tired shtick again and again. Long story short, people are over JJ Redick, and that brings us to...
X-Pac! Think you can tell us what to do?
Oh, good old X-Pac. If you're not familiar with this character, he was an okayish professional wrestler with the World Wrestling Federation in the 1990s and into the early 2000s. I mean, there was that 6 phase in WCW, but that was basically nothing more than Reddick's stint with the Milwaukee Bucks, if we're being honest here. Anyway, X-Pac was a solid wrestler, but a fairly unremarkable character, but for whatever reasons, chief among them that he had some serious friends in high places, X-Pac was always on television. It was the same uninteresting shtick week after week, month after month. At some point in the early 2000s, fans decided that they had just had enough of X-Pac, and they started booing him mercilessly anytime he appeared. It didn't matter what he did, X-Pac was garnering a negative reaction. X-Pac could have been a heel or a face, good guy or bad guy, it was irrelevant. The general consensus was he should go away. This became known as X-Pac heat, or sometimes also called go away heat. Fans had just become so tired and so apathetic of X-Pac that these feelings manifested into negative reaction. It is overexposure breeding disdain, and it is perhaps the worst thing a person working in entertainment, wrestling, sports, or otherwise can have. It is one thing to be disliked or even loathed by the public if there is still a payoff for them at some point down the road. Dallas Cowboys fans will continually allow themselves to be baited by Stephen A. Smith because they may win the Super Bowl at some point in the future and shove it in his face one day. JJ Redick doesn't have that kind of relationship with fans or the public at large. Instead, the negative reactions he now gets are of the go away heat variety. Sure, there are some detractors for Reddick out there that will get angry at him when he says something they do not like, but by and large, people are just tired of him. That is the primary reaction a lot of folks now have every time Reddick pops up on TV, YouTube, a podcast, wherever the case may be, and it is the worst thing you can have. Back to X-Pac, he never went away. WWF almost insisted upon including him in storylines on TV, pay-per-view matches, all of that stuff. Even though fans had continued to say, we don't want to see this guy, WWF continued to show them X-Pac. But I think it's important to understand where the fans were coming from here. It wasn't that they wanted X-Pac to go away forever and never return. No one hated him as a person either. The general consensus here was he just needed to disappear for a few months, recalibrate, and come back doing something different. He was pulling the same old stunts, the same old routines he was in 97 and 98 and 2001, and it just did not play to that audience. Much like X-Pac in 2000 and 2001, Reddick does not seem to be going away either. In fact, his visibility could get worse, a lot worse. At least X-Pac never became WWF champion when everyone wanted him to just go away. In hindsight, that would have been pretty hilarious. I honestly can't even fathom what the reaction to an X-Pac championship victory, world championship victory would have been, because you would have had equal parts apathy and aggression. It would have been scenes, man. Unfortunately, we may end up with that scenario happening to JJ Redick. He just may find himself at the top of the mountain in the basketball world, at least as it relates to media attention. The Los Angeles Lakers naming Reddick as their next head coach would be strapping the proverbial rocket to his backside. He would basically be everywhere all the time. The Lakers as a franchise draw far too much coverage than they really deserve. Then you have LeBron James, who brings an extraordinary amount of extra attention. Now you're going to drop Reddick into this situation, who has shown a desire to interject himself into just about every discussion, like Oscar from The Office.
Oscar is known as Actually, because he will insert himself into just about any conversation to add facts.
Actually, you can see where this is heading. It's unlikely Reddick is going to give up his podcast and media interests simply because he's an NBA head coach. Then his media interviews, his post-game interviews, all of that stuff, it's going to be broadcast everywhere all the time because, you know, it's the Lakers, it's LeBron, it's JJ Redick. The man most folks just want to go away will instead be omnipresent, an unavoidable entity that is going to break basketball. Or, at the very least, the spirit of basketball fans who, you know, actually care about the game and not petty squabbles or manufactured drama that the NBA seems to love. As I said at the start of this video, I don't think JJ Redick is a terrible sports personality, but he is one that is best presented in moderation. He's also someone who desperately needs to better understand privilege. Seriously, JJ Redick seems like the type of guy who would decry the Magna Carta as being unfair, dismiss those barons as being nothing more than quarrelsome, and try to defend King John and say he was misunderstood and that he was good simply because he was in a position of power. JJ, I know you are a history major, so you're going to get that reference, but come on, don't ever side with King John. I digress though. Ultimately, Reddick is nothing more than X-Pac, an overexposed individual most fans would like to go away at least for a little bit. Instead, it feels like we may get the exact opposite of that situation happening. If Reddick becomes head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, well, his exposure is only going to increase 10, 20, 100-fold. If you thought Aaron Rodgers on the New York Jets was bad, well, you ain't seen nothing yet if that deal between Reddick and the Lakers comes together. We know the NBA at this point prefers reality show headlines than emphasizing on-court action, and there would be no bigger reality show out there than JJ Redick coaching LeBron James and the LA Lakers. They don't call it the Lake Show for nothing after all. However, Reddick could hit Austin Reeves with a Bronco Buster and do like 1,000 crotch chops, and it still wouldn't change the fact most people just want him to go away. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to know a little bit more about how the Sacramento Kings and the greatest show on court almost never came to pass, video upper right hand corner is the place to go. Till next time, I'm Cheyenne Hollis. This is The Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.
Yeah, I don't even need these. I'll see you guys when I get back.
All right, Pac. Go get him, man. Go get him, Pac. Get him, baby.